Everyone to the second session of Network and Cloud Security admin course. Yeah, as you know, this course has 5 sessions. So we covered last time was the overview more about the MSP portal, and we onboarded the first client, right? So the idea was for you to be able to onboard a simple client, your customer, in less than 30 minutes. And there were some basics you learned about SASE. So this is the second session. All sessions are 30 minutes each, 2.5 hours for the sessions. And then there will be a quiz at the end, 30 minutes quiz. And this admin course is the first course. There will be later more advanced courses like professional and so on, and those will continue into the next year. But today's course is focused on policy implementation, like how you improve the security posture by a precise policy implementation. So you will see this network and cloud security is all about policy and policy implementation. And I have experts with me, Umanath and Rama. If you have any questions, please put those questions as we are going through the session live, and we will try to answer those questions as soon as possible. And why we should be talking about policies. So with the SASE, what is SASE? Last time we learned, like what SASE is consolidating security and networking into a single offering. And by doing that, you consolidate dozens of security controls and your networking into a single solution, right? So SASE is supposed to improve your security posture, but if done right, you have to have the security controls in place. Just getting a subscription to SASE or having your clients start using SASE, yeah, they will get some default protections, but not the protections they would require, for example, for compliance and so on. So then the second reason is you need policies for compliance, because each compliance has its own requirements, and these compliance regulations becoming more and more complex. Like with the zero trust, you need to put in more precise security controls. Like so, SASE helps with that, because on the left side, now your security will be like you are consolidating dozen of controls into a single offering now, but your security also becomes complex. Like it's not simple like a DNS security, block this website, for example, this domain. Like it's very simple. But then you will be using like 12 different products. You have to go individually and configure those policies. So SASE helps with that. It consolidates things, but still the complexity goes up. So one of the things for today's session, a little bit warning in the beginning, is going to be little bit complex, and we are going to try to make it simpler. But for the next 20 minutes, we need your full attention to get the message here about policies. And then compliance. SASE helps centralize policy management. Like you will see at one place, you specify those policies. And compliance are complex, those regulations. So there will be a lot of these different moving parts in the policies, but you will see how we are trying to make those simpler. Okay. And the third reason is productivity. And you cannot, if you say, okay, why, for example, you can have default policies for all different compliance, because that is that will hurt the productivity, because there will be so much restrictions, right? And you want to have this balance between your security posture meeting the compliance that you need. For example, if you are in retail, you may need PCI DSS compliance, healthcare, HIPAA, but you don't want to have like these dozen of compliance policy implemented for all. If your client is in a given industry, you only implement those controls, because if you overdo it, this becomes more restrictive. That hurts productivity, like employee productivity, because because there will be so much restrictions. But at the same time, SASE, we also learned you can work from anywhere. It gives you that freedom. But at the same time, you want to So you don't want to overdo the security controls, but at the same time, you don't want to give employees, since they're working from home, give them this freedom that even during work hours they can go watch, for example, movies and other things like go to gambling sites. So you want to put those controls in place. Like so, there will be balance between these three things when you implement these policies. So that's why policies are so fundamental to SASE and security and cloud networking. Okay, let's now continue with the what is in session two. Like so, this is the outline over here. So there will be a precise enforcement of policies, and you will see there will be multi-level policies, and you will see why you need that. That's trying to simplify the policy enforcement, and many different type of categories. You will learn about the threat intel sources and so on, location-based geo-fencing. So there's a lot that we are going to cover in the next 15 minutes. So let's try to jump into that. So this is a big overview. As you know, we are just focusing on the secure internet access and secure private access of SASE in this course. And we will cover the other things next year. There will be more courses coming up. So what is secure internet access? This is securing your web and SaaS, and secure private access is more going to private applications. Like and the security controls you need for both. Like and as you have learned, SASE consolidates many of these things as you can see over here. Is basically the world we live in is a hybrid infrastructure world. Things are moving to the cloud, but they're still on-prem. There's still offices, and the left side is also hybrid work. And to connect hybrid work to the hybrid infrastructure, SASE itself is a hybrid infrastructure. Like it has these cloud nodes, what we call cyber mesh, and you also, if you have to protect location, you deploy these cyber gateways. They replace firewalls and your networking, SD-WAN, and so on. You put agents on the endpoints. So to connect. So this is a modern world. That's why traditional security no longer works in this modern world, and you need this network and cloud security. Basically, SASE and SASE itself is a hybrid infrastructure. Okay, that also adds to the complexity of that, and the uh, important point is your over here the policy, like everything is centralized, your visibility and policy, because now your locations are distributed, your users are all over, and you so one of the key part of SASE is centralized policy management. That's with the goal to simplify policy implementations. Okay, let's now look at these two slides will give now you need to think in multi-dimensions, right? And if you want to take a screenshot of this slide and the next slide, please go ahead and take a screenshot, because when we will be the console, we will be talking about these things, and then you need to visualize how this all is coming together. Like so that's the point here. Like there were people who were security experts, people who were network experts. Now the cloud came in. So with the SASE consolidating your network security, cloud security, and networking into a single offering, and if you become expert in this, so there's that skill set like for your career. I mean, this is what you would need in the modern world and going forward. Like so, it's going to be a little bit complex. Just to try to visualize in multi dimensions, and then you will get that. Like so this is for the MSPs. I think this is a no-brainer, because you are already using multi-tier systems. That means you have the MSP partner portal, then you have your clients. But with the SASE and security and networking, there are more levels to that. Like for a given client, you may have different groups. Why you want to create groups? Because you want to apply different policies. Like you may have like employees, contractors, consultants, or HR, finance, developers, all these different, like, and the policies need to be different for these different groups. Like if you apply blanket policy, that may be too restrictive for some and too much freedom for others. Like so, you want to strike that balance. Then you can go to even user and device level to apply this policy. And then you will have the sites, we have seen those gateways you deploy, and different sites may have different policies. There may be a manufacturing site, there may be headquarter corporate site, and the policies need to be different for those. Like maybe your HR is in corporate location, you want to allow, for example, LinkedIn, social media there, maybe block at other places, and so on. That's why you have to have these policy controls multi-tier, and then for each thing there will be multiple policies, and then these things stack. Did you see? I mean, it's not one, so there's a vertical thing, as you see over here, horizontally. So multi-tier means you will see there were about 5 levels here. Then multi-policy means you may have n number of clients, like, so you may have 100 customers, and each customer may have a number of groups. They may have different users, devices, different number of sites. So this is the horizontal axis. But what is in the depth, right? So let's look at the depth. So this is the 2D, very easy to visualize. Now just visualize the other dimension, third dimension. So this is what is going in the depth. Like, we are really looking at, like, there were 5 levels, and your number of clients and groups and all that, and now there are 8 different types of policies. And they can be applied at each level, and you will see some of these policies would not make sense at certain levels, and we are going to go through those. Look, so what are these different type of controls? Again, this might look complex, but now you're consolidating dozen of security controls. Like, it's not about your web security or DNS security or your firewall, geo-fencing and all that, your networking. It's all in one. But these are the security controls you will be looking at. So first, you want to put in controls on your web usage, like the web categories controls. As we said, now employees working from anywhere, and we get these requests all the time. Like, for example, the CEO of your client, they want to see if the employees are really working during work hours, or they are just uh, wasting time on some other things, and so on. Like, the SASE will give you that type of visibility. Not only visibility, you will also put in controls in place. Like, you can block, like, the gambling sites and social media, and you can do that during work hours, and all those precise controls you can implement. Then the threat intelligence feeds are more for your security posture, right? So you will have some freedom configuring those, but a lot of those. So again, since this policy is complex, generally the SASE provider, in this case Axiom, we just have some of these policies that are not even exposed to you, because those need to be applied. We know, like, the phishing sites, which are validated, for example, phishing sites and malicious sites, like, we will just block those, right? But there will be some, like, feeds that you can configure, and you can configure those at different levels, as you have seen. Like, you can configure those at your MSP partner level, workspace, and it would not make sense to kind of configure feeds at a user level, for example, because these are, again, at the high level, what type of these categories of feeds you want to implement. Then blocking of malicious domains for security, but for productivity, you maybe want to block ads for example, because if their employees go to a work site, SaaS site, or something like, or do a search, but you don't want to have so many ads, because ads will distract them. So they will just waste time. Like, you want to put in controls there, and for privacy, you want to maybe put in controls on the tracking sites and so on. So you see why each type of thing is over here. And then you can put very precise controls, like on a per website level, or a per IP level, per domain level. So you can go as deep as you want in putting these controls. And then if your users are working, like, some of your users may be traveling, they may be traveling overseas, or some companies have operations overseas. You want to put in geofencing controls to, for example, allow access and what type of websites your employees can go to. Like, so, for example, if you block certain countries, you don't want your users to accidentally even go to the website. Many times, these malicious sites are hosted in some kind of outside the US, in certain specific countries, and so on. And since networking is a big part, there is this traffic steering, how you steer the traffic. So those policies will be there. And since you also have this private access to internal resources, there's this concept of trespass, like your private network policies, like how the subnets access you can control. So those will be zero trespass. And the time-based policies, as we discussed, in some cases for productivity, or in some cases like you want to give a consultant access to private resources for the next 2 hours only, or maybe a on-site printer, a technician need to access that. Maybe you just give access like for 1 hour, you can do that. Or maybe things like you can implement policies weekdays during business hours and all those things. So these are different things that you would you need. So again, you can take a screenshot of this one as well. Now, mostly we will be spending time in the portal, hands-on, going through some of the things. But as you can see, I mean, this is really the multi-tier and multi-policy, and this is really going the depth of that, like the type of things, policies at each level or some levels you want to configure. So this is what makes it a little bit, but there will be visualization. At least the portal that Axiom has, we will also show you the policy visualization so you can see what is going on. But again, you're consolidating a lot of the security controls and connecting hybrid work to hybrid infrastructure with the hybrid SASE approach. And if you can just understand these things and master these things, this is what you need maybe for the next 10 years as a skill, like when it comes to network and cloud security. So with this one, let's go into the portal. And we will start at the MSP portal. So you have seen this portal. There are a number of things, and as we discussed, we will be covering some of the things in the next sessions. And we covered some of the things last time. But today it's really about the policies. Like we are just going to focus on this tab over here and what type of things you can configure at the MSP level. Like this is now the highest level, right? You configure here. For example, your MSP is in the US, maybe in a particular state, your all clients are located here. You may, for example, put in some geo-fencing policies, like only allow access from the US, or even the egress controls only allow to go to the websites in the US, right? And then you can apply to all your clients those policies. So these are examples that you will see the type of things that you can do over here. Maybe since I was talking about geo controls, we can just start over here. And there are two type of geo controls, egress control and ingress controls. And why you need these two type of controls? And maybe we can go back and have a quick look at the. So ingress controls is where the users can come into the mesh. For example, if you have a RDP running in a data center and you put a ingress control like US only, then if someone from, for example, Belgium tries to do access, they will be denied access from the mesh because ingress can only come from the US, right? And now take another example, like you have a user in the US, but there was a phishing email and that link had a site in Russia, for example, and they accidentally click on it. The egress rules is where they can, okay, the ingress mesh is going to allow them, then mesh is going to check what is the egress rule, okay, this website in Russia is going to block it. And now you can imagine, there are the use cases you can address with these ingress and egress controls. Let's go back. Sometime I just need to. Best, just. Okay, so I'm sure I'm still sharing the screen. So if you don't see it, let me know, Manat. So these are the egress control and egress control. You can put in these controls at this level, like allow, and there are the default action, like this way, allow all countries, and you see exceptions are block. Right? And similarly, ingress, default is allow, or I can set default is block. I only want to allow from the US, like then I will just uh, pick US, for example. Like this way, I only allow ingress from the US. Right? So you can see, like, since we are covering a lot, I'm not going to go through all the details, but I think you have access to the portal and you can play with these rules yourself. And now let's look at these web categories. Like again, we are at the MSP level, and you can define these templates. Like certain you want to block, for example, gambling for all your clients. You can block it over here. Then with one click, you can apply to all your clients, and you can override in a client workspace these settings. We will see that as well. And these are the threat intelligence feeds. By default, you can see certain are enabled. There's a lot over here. Like, and you can be more aggressive, you can enable more of these, but at the same time there's this trade-off, like there may be some false alarms, as we have seen, like the productivity part of it. Like you only enable the things that you need for your security posture and compliance. If you overdo it, that also impacts the productivity. So this is where you strike that balance. Web category and the more detailed rules we will also see in the workspace levels, like and so we can go to the next level. So this is the MSP portal level. So you can see some of the policies you can define over here. And if I go to companies in the company list, if from over here I can apply to all companies, or I can go to individual company and apply over here. For example, uh, if I want to apply my policies MSP partner level over here, I'll just do like this, like you will see, and I can unassign as well. Similarly, web categories, I want to assign with just one click, because in this case, I'm just saying this workspace, this client, I'm applying my MSP level policies. But I will go into the workspace, I can always override some of those. Like again, the type of policy we looked at, the multi-tier nature of those, and let's go to one of the test workspace that I have, and we will be seeing many things over there. And you have seen I have both partner level policies and web categories already assigned to this client that I'm going to go into, and these policies will be there. But now if I go to the zero trust policies, I see similar things and more things as well. And if, for example, I go over here, I can override like the web categories. All are now these are in a way imported or carried down from the MSP portal, but I can go override some of the things over here. Like I block advertisement over here, and then for this client, the ads will be blocked, for example. So the whole idea is you have certain templates at the MSP level you can easily apply to all the clients, but that you can go to the client level and override some of the things, and then you can go to the group level, individual user level, different sites, and so on. And this is how you can match the security controls to the unique needs of your clients. Like in a certain industry vertical, or maybe one client has a certain unique compliance requirements, or they have a need to monitor employee productivity and all those things, then you can apply those policies for that client only. So and you can see it's very similar things over here, and but you whatever I do over here will override the MSP level policies. And now there's a one geo controls are very similar, and other things over here. But there's one more thing, this traffic steering. But before I go there, let's go to the sites as well, because sites is one of the level, as you have seen, where you can have different policies for different sites. Right? Before I go there, we visualize the network. So this is a one tenant or one client, one of your customer, for example. This is our test workspace. Each customer will have a unique global private network. Like they may be, if they are, in our case, this workspace, we are in the US and we have some of the users in India, like our engineering team and so on. You can see where the users are distributed, and these are my 3 cyber gateways, and rest blue is all cyber mesh. Right? So you can visually see that's all, like geo-fencing and the policies you apply. They can be like global policies at the MSP level, then global at the workspace level, your client level. Each sites have a site in Chicago, Dallas, and Tampa may have different policies, and users may have unique policies as well if you need. So you can be very precise about applying these policies. And if and your all sites are over here, and if I go to one site, I can select, for example, this site. You see there are local policies. This is at the site level. Like if you have taken a screenshot, you just look the last 2 rows, like the site and different policies. So I'm going to Dallas site. I can do everything like the web categories. Like if I, for example, override something over here, it will just be blocked for this site, right? So I imported from the MSP level, applied certain policies at the client level, but now different sites, I can configure policies differently as well needed. Not only this, all the now the depth that you have seen, like the depth, the type of policies, like the geo controls and the malicious domain, your firewall, and a lot of other things. Like you can know also go deeper. The depth is present at multiple levels, as you can see. Like even at the site level, I can have that depth, like the type of policies I want to apply. And the trust patch is another concept. You will see that as well. Like I mean, so if I go to, for example, my sites, these trust paths, like a site, for example, one site I was looking at. Let's see this one. This as, for example, this subnet. Like so, each site will have a different subnet, and you will be able to see which subnets there are, and you can allow, for example, access to all the users, or you can give access to a group, or you can do it at the individual level as well. You can also do deny all, like no one can access that site. That's deny all. Then you put in allow rules. Like so, that's a trust path is another variable that only comes into play for private networks. Like you can see all the subnets are private networks. So these are really your private subnet, for example, for your zero trust network access and SD-WAN policies over here. And in zero trust policies, I think we heard other things, but there are 2 more things, because networking is a very important component of SASE. Like, and then you have these steering controls. By default, you have intelligent traffic routing. So that means you get routed on the shortest route. But in this case, you are not egressing on a specific IP. Well, as soon as I do conditional access, I get a dedicated IP, and I can now decide what things I want to force through the tunnel, and what can go outside the tunnel can be routed intelligently. For example, if my goal is to do conditional access to Microsoft 365, I just include that app, or exclude, like in this case, I'm excluding it, but I will include in that case. So I will always egress for Microsoft 365 from that IP. I can whitelist and do conditional access while not impacting the user experience, because productivity, again, bringing in productivity, if I do tunnel all traffic, user experience will be affected, right? Because your all tunnel will be will be tunneled. Even maybe your need to watch a YouTube video for some work and so on, right? But so you can do conditional access. So there's a lot of these knobs you can control over here. So the last one is the rules. You can define rules not only at the workspace level. You can decide like at the workspace level, or later you can also assign these to groups, and you can be very specific. Like policy you can create, like maybe block certain site, block TikTok or something like, and I want to do, for example, custom domain or even application. Let me see if TikTok is there. Yeah, maybe I'll do domain like this. And this is the idea, like you can block it for the next hour, or it can be weekdays 9 to 5, all these time-based controls. Like so we have seen there are these geofencing. It's basically space-time. Imagine that, like space-time. You can put geofencing and time-based rules, and then all the other things that we just reviewed over here. Okay, I think with this one I'll stop over here. A minute